Alright folks, Urban Sentinel here. This is going to be a quick video, a little garden update, and for many of you that have gardens and have been doing it for a while, you know that there's great joy in tending to your garden. It can be a productive thing for you and your life. It can add certain levels of benefit to your lifestyle, but it can also be frustrating. And many of you that have been regular followers of my channel have seen some of my garden videos, and you know that I've battled over the years with primarily woodchucks and some rabbits here and there, but mostly things of the animal nature. About 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, at the time that this video will come out, we got hit with a very strong thunderstorm, high winds, and I'll just give you a quick synopsis on it. Winds were blowing, rain was pouring down, it was pretty much going sideways, and I kept hearing a lot of thumping outside the house. I took a look outside the window, and there were several large limbs that had fallen off of several of the trees around. Not a big deal. At that point, it was just noisy enough inside the house that the rest of the family was up, and we were, getting our Sunday morning going. At a certain point, I could hear a large growl, almost like a roar, outside of the house. So once again, I step out into Mother Nature. I can't see a thing. The wind is pelting me in the face with the rain, and I can hear my wife upstairs talking with our kids, and conversation seemed normal. As I stepped back inside, I heard this rumble and the whole house shook, and the only thing I could clearly hear above the vibration of the house was my wife saying, "Everyone downstairs now." Segueing from that, what had happened was, as I stepped back out to figure out what exactly that noise was, I noticed that one of the large trees next to our house, a large limb had come off. The limb went from one side of the house across to the other side of the house, taking a small corner of the roof, mangling the awning, but gently resting on top of the porch, so luckily enough it didn't actually come into the house. Everyone was okay inside, but then, of course, my channel, this is emergency preparedness, and I talk about prepping and bug out bags and things like that. When my wife had said, "Everyone downstairs now," from that point forward, maybe we'll say roughly 10 Mississippis had passed. I stepped back inside the house. Both of our children are downstairs in the living room. The oldest one grabbed her essentials, and the youngest one grabbed her essentials. My oldest grabbed a blanket, her plushie, and her laptop, because that's all that she needs to survive. The youngest one came down with 2 bags full of gear ready to go. Just an interesting little anecdote on that. Getting the repairs set up for the contractor, so hopefully within the next 2 weeks or so, that'll be taken care of with the roof damage and the siding and everything else. The tree in its entirety got cleared out, and that's all gone, so there's a lot more light going around. But into the garden. It was mostly wind damage, but I also know, because there are telltale bite marks, that the woodchuck somehow got in. My guess is he came over a section of the fence around here and made his way through and had himself a good time on some of the squash that was growing. I just put in a lot of this hay that you see in here because it's been excessively hot for the last week and a half, even when it does rain. And I'm just trying to retain as much moisture as I can without overwatering everything else. By and large, I've got green beans growing. They're doing good. Some of the other beans aren't as strong. I think they also got nibbled on to a point where they were no longer going to grow. Tomatoes are getting bigger. I had an issue with 2 of my tomato plants, but they're really starting to pick up now. I've got a couple of peas starting to show up. I just recently transplanted several and have those in. I have to do a little more careful weeding around this area. The potatoes, I added another layer of hay on top of that. They're still coming up. They're still growing, still looking good. So hopefully within another few weeks or so, that'll be something to look forward to. Like I said, the green beans, they've been vining and crawling all over the place. I do have to take 4 posts that I have. They were on the side of the house that got hit with a limb, put them in here in the garden and run chain link over the top like an archway, and that will be a climbing trellis for some more squash that I'm going to plant, probably winter squash. So I'll get that set up, and I'll also put in some more of the pole beans as well. So the archway itself will end up going up over and onto this side, and that'll give me extra square footage inside the garden itself. A lot of everything else here is starting to pick up a little bit. I haven't been tending to this thing as much as I needed to because I was distracted with the house repairs and everything else. But it's one of those things with gardening that it comes with the territory. You kind of have to make the plans that you can and then adapt to the changes as they go. Now, with that being said, it's still one of those benefits that for people that are new to it, don't get discouraged. I mean, you're gonna stub your toe. It happens to everyone. And it's just some of those things that sometimes it's an idea you have that doesn't work out. Sometimes it's a planting method or whatever you're actually planting. Again, you may have issues. Mother Nature by itself, whether it's the animals, the insects, or the weather, everything has an effect. But I still feel, as it is right now in our current state, that it is better to at least have some practice, have some knowledge, and prepare ahead of time, maintaining even just a few potted plants that can provide you a minor amount of, at the minimum, satisfaction, if not sustenance, but it's something good to have. And with the current state that we're looking at for the environment as far as climate change goes, I also think that a good investment would be seeds, plain and simple. I mean, you don't have to go overboard and get 10,000 seeds of this, that, and the other, but picking up several packets of heirloom seeds of different things. And the key thing is you've got to remember, look for things that, you know, have a pretty fast grow time, because you may not have a large growing window sometime in the future. There may be a point several months now, years down the road, where, you know, a daytime high could get too hot for most plants to survive over their normal cycle. So you want to be able to plant in the early portions of spring when it's still relatively cool, with hardy plants that can then grow, and before it gets too hot in the summertime and the heat ends up killing them, drying them out and causing them to bolt, you'll be able to harvest them and at least take care of it that way. You may want to invest in a grow house. I mean, even with my greenhouse, it still needs some work, but I'm thinking of trying to figure out ways to run some solar powered LED lights that are in the UV spectrum to act as a wintertime grow house for a lot of the smaller plants that I want to keep going through the year, as well as, you know, converting the front porch into another greenhouse where it's primarily for moving a lot of the potted buckets, so there's space dedicated for them, and I can get those out of the weather, out of the elements, and hopefully maintain them through most of the cold weather in the wintertime. But that's it for now, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.